We walked the breakwater where seagulls cried, to hear a verse that stirred within our hearts. With John and Yvonne, poets L by my side, we found new beauty in stops and in starts. The keys that we found, the words that we spoke, from Parkland Green cycled to James Bay Old. New life in a derelict house awoke, a piano's keys that we heard unfold. Through every line, the familiar turned new, with hidden stories that we came to see. Our shared perception begins to break through, but this journey is not done for you and me. Our path continues, though the day is late. More of our city remains to narrate. What should I know about Kieran before we meet her, our current poet laureate?
Well, she also runs the Planet Earth Poetry Reading Series.
She does her own podcast.
Trying to interview poets laureate across Canada, I guess. I used to run the Planet Earth Poetry Reading Series, but when I became poet laureate, I gave it up.
Oh, and
but
she did
Kieran's
not.
doing both.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, is poetry a really close-knit society? Like, do poets generally know each other?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And do I raise the chances of becoming a poet laureate if I keep hanging out with you?
It won't necessarily rub off, I'm sorry.
But I can try. I think we got Kieran standing right there, so let's go say hello.
Hi! So good to see you. Hi, Kieran.
You too.
Hi, Kieran.
Hey, John.
I'm also a person named John. I've been hearing about you this entire Pedicab ride. Thank you for agreeing to meet us so short notice. So you are actually the poet laureate for Victoria, and I've heard that you're from Australia, and I know there is a Victoria in Australia. Are you from Victoria, Australia?
No,
Aww.
I'm from Sydney, but not the Sydney on Saanich Peninsula.
No?
The Sydney with the harbour and the Opera House.
Your background, as I have been told, is actually dancing and theater. Well, what's the transition phase? Like, how does one go from dance theater to poetry?
Well, I think my greatest love has always been words. I mean, I remember being a little kid with like ripped out pages of my diary with poems on them and wandering around after my dad in the garden, like editing as I'm going and reading him these poems about fairyland. So I think that was my first love. And I was seduced by theatre in my teenage years. And yeah, I didn't find writing as it is for me now until I moved to Victoria. And I was born as a poet in this city, actually in the Department of Writing at UVic. Do you know that we have one of 3 standalone writing departments in Canada?
I did not know that.
Everybody else is attached to the English department. They write about people's work. And in the University of Victoria, there's a writing department that is part of the fine arts department, and everyone writes their own work. It's an amazing department.
I have to say that this doesn't surprise me, because Victoria is such a literary city, both as a setting, but also as a place with a support structure for writers.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Contrary to the expectations a casual viewer might have from this episode, not every poet in Victoria has been or will ever become a poet laureate. I've asked a little bit about your journeys of becoming poets laureate. I am learning.
I'm working on that on the bike.
Well, but how did you get there? What was the journey that led you to being a poet laureate?
Foolishness, because I'm also the artistic director of Planet Earth Poetry, and Yvonne is a past artistic. I think actually I'm just living Yvonne's life. I moved 2 doors down from her. I took over the artistic directorship of Planet Earth Poetry, and now I'm the poet laureate. So I think I'm kind of single white femaling her.
But I didn't do both at the same time. I left one to do the other. So
Hence
that's a
the
big
word
difference.
foolish.
To what extent does like the dance and theater, that background that you have, find its way weaving into your status as a poet?
Well, it was incredibly helpful to have been on stage. So getting up to read my poems is not an enormous step, although it is more exposing. You know, there's an exposure that comes reading your own work that doesn't come when you're playing a character or you're dancing in a role, or, you know. I think also with the podcast, I've been able to draw upon voice training and things that I've learned from my theatre days that I've kind of let get sloppy.
Right.
I'm going back to those now so that I can sound clear on air. And you might have noticed I talk very fast. So I'm trying to slow myself down and remember what it was like to be on stage.
Bringing back tools that you hadn't needed to take out of the toolbox for a while.
Yes, they're a little rusty,
Yeah.
but, you know, polishing them up.
But also you wrote an incredible book of ballet poems.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And what's that called, by the way?
It's called
Disassembling a Dancer. It follows the life of a dancer who is so injured she can't dance anymore. So it's kind of looking at our body as art and what happens when you cannot, you know, make your art anymore. How art and body and identity are intertwined.
Let's talk about the Poet Podcast, the Poet Laureate Podcast.
Poet Laureate Podcast.
Because as I understand it, John, for example, has already been on the Poet Laureate Podcast.
He has been on the podcast, and Yvonne is next.
Yes, okay.
My aim is to move through all the Poets Laureate in Victoria, but to also weave in poets from across Canada so that we can all, you know, basically have an archive of the Poets Laureate in Canada. Because poetry is an archive, it's like a blueprint for the consciousness. You know, you can go back anywhere in time and you can see what people were thinking when you read the poetry.
That's right. We were even saying this. It's a little bit of a time capsule.
Yeah.
It is.
May I ask what you and John spoke about on yours?
John's episode is actually the most popular episode so far on the podcast. He has more views and more interaction than any other episode. He agreed to be part of Pride Month. For the podcast, and talks about the history of queer poetics in Canada in a way that very few could.
Right.
And he also talks about his journey with form, with formal structures, and the way that has transformed his poetry, or maybe not transformed it, has.
Transformed is a good word.
Yeah. It's astonishing. It's an astonishing episode. You talk.
It's your turn.
Well, yeah, not that I remember anything I said, but form influences subject and shapes thought, and how it helps you delve into what you think in a way that free verse doesn't do in the same way.
I didn't realize that you actually did that for Pride Month.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, Victoriage is a very queer program, so I'd love to hear that, actually. This might seem like a rather obvious question, but is there a pretty strong sense of community among the Poets Laureate? And are you often like supporting each other and kind of helping each other along your journeys?
Absolutely.
I think I talked John into applying.
I think you did.
Yeah, he talked me into applying.
So there you go. Yeah.
But everybody who's a writer in Victoria knows everybody who's a writer in Victoria. It's a little city, and we're all very supportive of each other's work, and everyone's wins are our wins. And
I mean, you went to UVic, I went to UVic, you went to UVic. We all were in the writing program. I would say, you know, I came into my own as a poet in the 70s and the 80s, and it was the writing program, which I always thought of as, you know, the accelerating.
it's an incubator.
Yeah.
That's the word.
The mentorship is astonishing.
People say you can't go to school to learn how to write, but you certainly can go to focus on writing
Right.
and to learn about editing
Right.
and learn
And
about craft and
but I
form
always think
and be among other writers.
that
And
people go to art school and no one questions that.
no,
Yes.
that's true.
Not everybody is going to be a professional writer when they graduate, but I always think that at least maybe they are better readers. You know, the first measure of success is if the reader gets to the end of the poem.
I like the idea that writing programs also, even if students coming out of them don't go on to be poets or whatever, they will go on to continue to appreciate poetry, which I think is so wonderful. Yeah.
You know what else, though, is important about Victorian writing is Planet Earth poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's a 30-year-old reading series, and we've seen writers, you know, kind of be born and grow and publish and win awards, you know, right through the 30 years.
It's the only weekly reading series, so every week. Many are every month or every other month, but Planet Earth Poetry is every Friday. So it has a huge longevity as well.
We've established a great writing program at UVic. We've established Planet of Poetry. You know, there are these supportive structures. Is there something ephemeral in Victoria itself that makes it a great and inspiring setting to just sort of live and breathe and want to write?
Well, I mean, the weather is so good, right? So you get to enjoy nature for a much more substantial period of the year.
Is it because we're an island, you know, and we're the southern tip of an island, and we have the mighty Pacific surrounding us?
So much
and
nature.
Well, actually, I don't know if there's any one particular thing
No.
that makes Victoria a great place to create. Maybe it is things like, you know, the writing program, Planet Earth Poetry,
The Malahat Review.
Malahat Review helps us see ourselves, so we think of ourselves as a community.
Speaking of words, so you came here prepared with a poem that riffs on the city of Victoria and even, if my sources are correct, even Munro's books, where we are right now.
I wrote it for you and the podcast.
Ooh.
It's been inspired by what's happening in Alberta with books. But because we chose Munro's, and I just wanted to include Munro's in that, they've supported my work since my first book came out, and I can't be more grateful for them.
It's a great bookstore.
It's an amazing
One of my
bookstore.
favorites.
And yeah. A kind of theft. I wanted to write about my favorite bookstore, how sunlight turns the tapestried walls into stained glass, columns stretching towards the vaulted ceilings, shrine-like, beautified. How the smell of books is a little like forgiveness, or the flicker of something almost remembered before the pages were torn out. Lately, when I think about books, I see bonfires and jackboots, stay bright buttons, lore passing like the shadow of flame down fluorescent hallways. I think about my old school library, divided by grade, color-coded stickers, restricted shelves, how at 8, I stand in the grade 6 section, arms crossed behind my back, reading spines as if they're spells and forbidden to speak aloud. Shooed back in line. Those books are not for you. But none of those titles in the aisle meant for me owned a full set of teeth. There's something about reading alone, your knees tucked beneath, the illuminated words, a light in your lap. The world on pause, long enough to become someone else or to become yourself. I think absence leaves the deepest wound, not the bans, not what's decreed, but what's erased. The shelves we keep glancing toward long after they've been emptied.
That is some powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. What a great choice of a poem. Let's say you're a young poet at the beginning of the journey. What advice would you have to offer?
Well, there's UVic.
Some of that doesn't
There's
surprise me.
also Tongues of Fire, or the Victoria Poetry Project, which is the spoken word scene, which is extremely strong and very supportive. And they have, I think every 2 weeks or so, they have an open mic, or they have readings, and they have competitions, poetry slams. So there's a lot going on for people to sort of step into and enjoy.
Just put yourself out there, essentially.
be brave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
join a writing group.
Join a writing group. Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest thing, and most of us got from UVic, in the end, were the people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm friends with people I studied with 40 years ago, still.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed it in, later generations, watching them go through UVic, watch them graduate, watch them find their community.
I think community is a pretty good answer to many of the fundamental questions. I know 3 very good writers, so you'll be hearing from me. Oh, that came out as a threat. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kieran.
Thank you, Johnny. It's been a delight.
Absolutely. Come on, everyone, bring it in. Group hug.
Oh, you're off again.
Yeah, we're back, returning to the Pedicab, because Yvonne is going to be telling us some stories about the death of Persephone in a second.
That's right.
Ah, fabulous.
So Persephone is the Greek goddess who's tied to the natural world, and particularly her mother Demeter. And when Persephone is a young girl, she is kidnapped by her uncle Hades and taken into the underworld. And he covets her. I would consider him a pedophile. I would consider him a kind of monster. And he takes his niece into the underworld, and Persephone's mother creates an unending winter. So she manages the seasons, and without her daughter, the crops don't grow and winter comes. And while Persephone is in the underworld, she eats the food of the underworld, 3 pomegranate seeds. And because of that, when she's found and released, she has to return every year. So that is one of the ways to understand the season. So spring and summer, Persephone is reunited with her mother. Fall and winter, she's in the underworld with Hades. I've rewritten the story in a way that this young girl is kidnapped by her uncle H when she's very young and taken to a city where she's raised. And Uncle H runs a souvlaki restaurant in the underground of the city's subway system. And Stephanie, her name is Stephanie Persephone. Stephanie grows up down there, helping out in the souvlaki and things. And her mom can never get in touch with her because Uncle H has threatened her. And the story is of her learning what happened to her and also breaking free. But it's also a murder mystery. So in the city, as in most cities in the world, women are kind of endangered, and there's a detective, and the detective poems are all written as sonnets. And he's trying to solve these multiple murders of women in the city. And then the 2 stories come together.
So where are we going, actually?
I'm gonna start with a poem about bats. Bats are closely tied to Persephone because they're creatures of the underworld, or they're creatures of the dark. They live in caves underground. So I'd like to go into Bastion Square and around the corner, because it gives you the sense of kind of being in the underground.
Oh, this place. So this is a spot that we've actually been on a storytelling episode of Bon Victoriage before. We were here with your fellow John Adams. You were saying that you actually have a lot of experience in this building as well.
Yeah, I used to teach ESL in there, and I've experienced a ghost following me up there. Was an internal staircase. And John Adams joined on the walking tour I was talking about earlier and gave people extra information when we walked. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. But the story we're telling today is about Persephone.
Persephone. So in the real world, one of the original creatures blamed for the spread of the coronavirus were bats. I was working on a bat poem at that time. So bats are really closely linked to Persephone because they're nocturnal and because she's in the underground. And so I wrote a long poem about the bat, and it's part argument on behalf of Persephone and part argument on behalf of the bat. Bats are closely linked to kind of creepy things and Halloween and all of that, which so is Persephone. So the poem is called Pteropus, Fruit Bats. And it's in many parts, but I'm not going to read all of them.
Give people something to buy the book for.
Right. 1. The feet of the fruit bat are the small hands of a human child. The nose, a dog's nose, calm in the year of the rat, keeper of balance. Watchful dog, ever watched bat. Thumbs and fingers, soft dermis of membrane. Can the elongated hands of the bat be attentive? Can the wingspan? Blame the bat when humans falter. Blame the wolf or fox when chicks get eaten, while farmers' fences encroach into wilder spaces. Blame the girl, her uncle's obsession. 2. Screws, secateurs, twine and stakes, cages for birds or bats, a girl perhaps. Such honeyed wood, wooden slats, rope, headlamps. Spelunk deep into the earth, peek up. Crepuscular fruit bats, sweet sleeping breath. Quiet hunder. 3. Above, on the meadow where asphodel and daisies grow, a girl in a floral dress braids a chain. Below, where the roots and bulbs of narcissus burrow, the small feet of bats cling, and from water beads on the trichomes of these underground appendages, the fruit bat quenches its thirst. 4. Did you call her Bat Girl? Did her uncle wear a bad guy mask? Did he offer her fruit and batty she ate it? Blind, did she bat her eyes at him? 7. O bat, O maiden child, O myth makers and storytellers, look what we've done. Demonized the bat, harvested it, mummified it, sold it online, stressed, starved, caged, poisoned it, frozen it in vampire tales, loss, lose, lumbering. 8. Roosting one, flying fox, insect eater. We've broken the watersheds. We've lit up the caves like devils with our plastic horns. We've let the girl get taken again, and again we've marked her grave with pale, nocturnal, bleat and trill keening bats.
So from the darkness to the light, here we are.
Yeah,
The sun.
into the sunshine.
Yeah.
So a lot of the book moves between the city and the underground, and I have 3 poems for the city and 3 poems for the underground throughout the book. I'm a lover of the dark alley.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, right. So this is called the City One. The city becomes like a character, so it's kind of fun for that as well. The city. On city streets, rain, and on the great oak's leaves, rain, our open mouths. What is a city? A woman walks, her feet pound the laneways and avenues of a great city. From old town to new, the city lives, a scaled and curled beast. Another woman loses her shoe running. Another catches a note of song. Still another graffitis a mural on a theater wall. What is a city? It is a river that rises from the dark earth. It is traffic lights, headlights, dark. It is darkness. Fear is a city in every woman, and the police, a clique of men. Language fills the pores. Ville, herb, poli. The city has an eye, and the city has a million eyes.
I love that because it's so universal. I mean, it applies to the mythology that you're talking about very much so,
Yeah.
but it's also like, I mean, I think every woman I know can relate to that.
There was like a test done asking men, how do you prepare yourself to go for a walk in a city? And the men are like, I don't have to think about it. And they asked women, and this list of hundreds of things that women do to prepare to walk in the city. And Stephanie, the character in here, wants to own the city. She wants the city to be hers. So it's kind of a fun play on that as well.
Well, we're here in the square, there's one more spot too, isn't there?
There's one more spot. We're going to go down into the dark underground alley now.
Okay, well, this is spooky.
I know. It creates a feeling of being in an underground or in the underworld.
It's
So
very
it's
much
From
great.
station to station.
Yeah. The underground. Dark, gilded, eerie. The subway system is a world, artificial, grandiose. Chandeliers and frescoes, layers of darkness held by crystal and light. Ancient, tunneled, vast. Women-only carriages trundle into depths. White-gloved men in blue linen uniforms, people pushers, vanish into shadows, emerge with the next busy train, pry people off, wedge new passengers in again and again. Dark, gilded, the underground bears down, it bores into the earth. Like a calf, she's moved into ever-narrowing passages, step by step, into an elevator that leads to a gallery, which leads to another elevator. The trains move above while she's shepherded down, ushered, channeled, hallway to ever-narrowing corridor to ramp. She's steered toward darkness, stewarded, not a ward. She's seized and stolen. So this poem recalls two different train places in my personal experience. So the first part with the people pushers is I lived in Japan for 2 years, and you literally get packed onto the trains there. And the second part is the London train subway system. Sometimes it feels like you're just going down and down and down into narrow and narrow and narrow hallways like cows, right? So capturing both those places in that one.
At a certain point, you've been walking so long that you're like, wouldn't it have been faster to just stay above ground and not go into the underground?
Exactly, and that's what happened for me my first time in Montreal. I was trying to find the station for the train I wanted, but I ended up walking the whole way underground to where I was going. And I pulled that into the book as well. So when Stephanie, having grown up and known every nook and cranny of the underworld or the underground station, when she decides to leave Hades, she loses her ability to find her way down there as well.
Well, I love that we're traveling through Hades.
The realms of Hades. Yeah. Japan, all the places.
London,
Yeah, and if you
Montreal.
look at, and some of the descriptions of the undergrounds are from looking at derelict underground systems all over the world.
And meanwhile, here you could really imagine a ghost train
Absolutely.
going through here, because it really does have that look.
So I have another poem called Corridor that I'll read here as well. So it's the between space. The corridor is like the doorway between the underworld and the above world. And it's where I touch on the experience of missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. So tie Persephone into a more global understanding of experience. Corridor. Say Persephone, and corn, wheat, olives, the Mediterranean comes to mind. Ancient stone acropolis, gods fixed in place and time. Where the Persephone of camas and salmonberry, orca whale or gray, the goddess of fertile trees, blue bead lily, choke cherry, cloudberry, gods or totems, the maiden taken is not just in our imagination. Walking home this highway of a corridor of vanished beings. Violence, an erasure of earth and what is fertile. An erasure of women and deep knowledge. Language the tongue cannot curl to, yet still tongues do. Persephone, maiden taken, is in everything. Iconic girl, expected violence. History on repeat. Legend, myth, religion, we are breaking the code. She is make-believe. She is real. Smacked down, she rises. Human, enduring.
So in this one, it's like she is no one and she is everyone.
Every woman in every city. That was kind of the ultimate idea in my mind.
Well, you being a cyclist, I thought we could do another one while we're cycling. This is another poem that takes place in an alley, and we're just gonna drive around the alley while you read the poem, if you're okay with that.
Great. So this poem, it's the first time you're gonna meet the detective.
Oh.
His name is D.I. Bocca, and Bocca in Italy, in Florence, there's a small sculpture called The Mouth of Truth, and Bocca comes from that, which is fun.
Fun.
And the case notes, so his poems are throughout the book. There's 36 linked sonnets. So that means that where one sonnet ends, the next sonnet begins. This is case notes, D.I. Bocca, number 1.
Okay.
Time after time, they're called. From Beats Patrol to Drive Time Response. The sirens call to order. Chaos drawn toward death, a spider to a corner. He seizes back control, tries to, through evidence. Hard-lined questions asked. Tonight, rain, the roads washed, everlasting damp, beauty slaughtered. Another young woman, brunette, blonde, redhead, shoe missing, night rain-soaked, a stale cigarette. Cuts on her palms, bruised neck. Had she some foreknowledge? Had he? Time and the bodies slipping, a clock winding down. Dragged and bedraggled, skin cut, torn, bruised. Later, the autopsy will show what eyes won't see. Fury, distance between.
Very clinical, the detective's perspective.
Yeah,
By design,
big
I guess.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really focused on the kind of noir detective genre
Yeah.
for those sonnets.
Yeah.
So it really gives you the mood. And in this city, the sun never shines because Persephone has been taken. So it's always raining,
Okay.
always wet. It's a kind of grim city.
So Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah.
And you as a appreciator of sonnets, this is your happy place.
Yeah, it is.
You've done in your 509, there's linked sonnets.
There are. They're called crowns.
Yeah, when there's,
So 7 sonnets linked with the last line of the first sonnet becoming the first line of the second, and so on.
yeah. So I have 36, so I couldn't call them a crown. I
Well,
didn't.
that's more of a sonnet boom.
Sonnet boom. Nice. Oh, yeah.
So we got one more in this alley, don't we?
Got one more, yeah.
One more poem.
So I don't want to give anything away, but I feel like the main thing is given away in the title.
Right.
Death of Persephone, murder. So she dies. She's gonna die here. And when she dies, the shade of Persephone begins to exist and is frustrated with the detective. She's not a happy person. Her life was taken from her. And so there's multiple poems throughout called Shade of Persephone. And this is my most favorite one. Shade of Persephone. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Persephone. Stephanie in exile. Stephanie on retreat. Attendance. I'm thinking Stephanie in sunlight and a crown of daisy chains. Thinking the salve to the underworld, caught. The slave to the underworld, caught in the subway systems. I'm thinking a title, queen, pinned like a poppy to the bone. Enamored, hammered, she walked with a friend. That loose-limbed guy, she'd seen him before, trailing her, shadowing, grabbed her by the, if you're safe, if you're comfortable, if you're warm, a mother's mantra. Then come home, redacted.
It's shade of Persephone. I think that's also like a very simple anagram for Hades.
Right? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So speaking of reading poems, I guess the last thing we have left is going to your ceremony now.
My ceremony, it sounds so
So
religious.
let's dunk him in the ocean.
Hey, I'm all in. Let's do that. Once we say that, we have to do it. But okay, we've seen how the many different ways that Victoria can inspire poetry and fiction. But I also think it's worth taking a moment to allow for and acknowledge, actually, there's a lot of funding, arts funding for writers.
Not too bad, right? We have the BC Arts Council, which funds writers, and I'm currently on the board president of the Victoria Festival of Authors.
And there's also the Victoria Society of Writers.
Yeah, that's right, and they've become very active. Planet Earth Poetry also once a month on a Friday afternoon meets at this space in front of us,
the New
the
Horizons
New
Center.
Horizons Center.
Oh, right
And
over there.
it's a senior center. Planet Earth Poetry has an aging community like everywhere else, and so those people who aren't comfortable going out for the evening can go here.
That
Right.
actually very much fits into my concept of Victoria as just a place with so many DIY spaces,
Right.
community centers and
It's true, and I think there's something about being a compact city that helps as well. So Vancouver, there's lots of different things going on in Vancouver, but it's harder for people to get to them.
I think there's a lot of creativity that maybe you wouldn't need to have in a city that was larger and had more real venues.
Right.
So to
yeah.
Yeah.
And venues is a big concern here for all these things. It's
Yeah.
been great to have Russell Books
Yeah.
because Planet Earth Poetry used to take place in a coffee shop that closed down during the pandemic.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah.
I feel like culturally speaking, there were a few kind of dead years, or it was just a lot less going on. And the last couple of years, I noticed that there's just like this overflowing of cultural events of all different types.
Yeah.
Where we're going next is a pretty creative place for an event. It's right here at the Breakwater. Do you want to say a few words about this event that's going to happen in a little bit? Where we're going now?
With the Poet Laureate program, after you step down, you have a legacy project. And so mine is this poem called Dallas Road Variations, kind of an evocation of what might happen in a typical day if you were sitting on the Dallas Road cliffs. And the city is turning it into a plaque that will be mounted on the wall leading down to the staircase that goes down to the beach just below Dallas Road at Menzies. Anyway, it's a real honor and something that will endure.
Today we're here together to celebrate a plaque of a poem from John Barton, Dallas Variations. My name is Edward. I work with the city as part of the public art team. With no further ado, I'll introduce Councillor Coleman, who will introduce John before he does a reading. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you on behalf of Mayor Alto. Language is important. I work in an area where language tends to be bureaucratic. It tends to say, by policy, you can do this and you can't do that. And it's necessary as we build communities to have those guidelines. But the importance of poetry is it allows us to break out of our bureaucratic language, and it allows our hearts to soar a little bit as we build communities. And so I'm delighted to be here as we unveil your work, the Dallas Road Variations. John Barton, please come up and share with us your words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So where we're standing is very close to where in my mind's eye I was standing when I was writing this poem in my apartment, which is a block not so far from here. And of course, I've spent many hours along Dallas Road looking across the strait to the Olympic Mountains. It's this scene from this vantage point that I've looked at the longest, and doubt there will be any other view that will command my attention for as long. Ooh, there we go. All right. Dallas Road Variations. Below the cliffs, the running path corkscrews its runners forward too. The tide is kerned, unfolds dawn, kelp let go in pleats it churns up the beach, pebbles lifting, pinging through the lathers clear and caustic wash, pursued, withdrawn. Noonday swells falling taciturn, crows and cormorants, blue herons and terns, cyclists whizzing, skateboarders whooshing, cruise ships weighing anchor, and float planes docking, until a keener slant blunts the air, turns west, lounges quiet against salt-flaked logs, to journal how peak's dusk cuts out, stay flocked with embers, so legible, no cloud spurns the waves, unruffled, starlit monologues. Thank you. Thank you.